Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. Ready to unlock some seriously cool presentation secrets.
Always ready for that.
Today we're going deep with great presentation secrets.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. And a big shout out to London HeartbeatsZ Academy in the UK for giving us this awesome material. And hey, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button on our Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube, you won't want to miss future deep dives like this one. Now let's jump in.
Ever sat through a presentation that just fell flat?
Yeah, definitely. We've all been there, right? Spacing out when someone just isn't grabbing our attention.
Totally. But why does that happen? And how do we make sure we're not that presenter? How do we make our presentations, the ones that stick with people?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. And this guide, Great Presentation Secrets, it really digs into that. It's not just about info dumping. It's about connecting with your audience, like making them feel something.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, so what's the first secret to making a presentation that people actually remember? Well, right off the bat, this guy talks about starting strong, like
Yeah.
really strong, grabbing your audience's attention in the first minute.
Okay, so like hooking them in.
Exactly, making them want to hear what you have to say.
Okay, I'm hooked. How do we do that? How do we set the hook in those first 60 seconds?
There are a few ways. A provocative question is always good. Something that gets people thinking right away. Or a startling statistic. Something unexpected.
Oh, I see. So instead of like a boring agenda, we hit them with something that makes them lean in.
Precisely. It's that what's next feeling. Like at the opening scene of a good movie, they don't waste time. They throw you right into the action.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got their attention now. How do we keep them engaged throughout the whole thing?
That's where the guide's next point comes in. Clarity. Keeping your message super clear and concise. And one technique they highlight is using anchors.
Anchors. Remind me what those are again.
Think of it like this. An anchor is something that helps your main points stick in the listener's mind.
Ah, okay, so instead of just bombarding them with information, we give them something to hold on to.
Exactly. And the guide suggests two types of anchors. Analogies and acronyms.
Analogies, I love those. It's like, oh, I get it now. It's like this.
Right. A good analogy can make anything clear. And then there are acronyms, those little memory tools we all use. Like ROYGBIV for the colors of the rainbow.
You know what's funny? I never thought of using acronyms in presentations, but it makes so much sense.
Right. And that's what's so cool about this guide. It takes things we already know and shows us how to use them in new ways. So by using anchors like analogies and acronyms, we can make our presentations way more engaging and memorable.
This is great stuff. Okay, so we've got the hook, the clear message, and the anchors. What's next? How do we put it all together?
Well, the guide then talks about ending strong, summarizing your main points and leaving your audience with something to think about.
The grand finale. But wait, before we jump to the end, what about the middle part, the bulk of the presentation?
Oh, you're right. The guide actually spends a lot of time on that, and it's fascinating stuff. They suggest thinking of your presentation like a journey. You've set the scene, now you need to guide your audience through the topic. And the best way to do that is by breaking it down into stages.
Oh, so not just one long monologue,
Yeah.
like chapters in a book.
Yeah, exactly. Each stage with a clear purpose and building on the previous one.
So it's like climbing a mountain. Each stage is a base camp along the way.
Ooh, I like that. Each stage gives the audience a chance to catch their breath before moving on to the next point.
This is making so much sense. Okay, so we've got the opening, the stages, and the closing. How do we make sure it all flows smoothly?
That's where transitions come in. The guide really emphasizes smooth transitions between each stage, like building bridges between the different parts of your message.
Ah, transitions. So important, but so often overlooked. So is it as simple as saying, okay, moving on to the next point?
Not quite. The guide suggests getting a little more creative, maybe a rhetorical question that leads into the next topic, or a quick recap of what you just covered. Even a visual cue, like a change in the slides, can help.
So helpful. I'm already seeing how these pieces fit together to make a truly killer presentation.
And remember, all of this comes from great presentation secrets from the amazing folks at London HeartbeatsZ Academy UK. Seriously, they're rock stars for sharing this with us.
Yes. Big thanks to London HeartbeatsZ Academy. And speaking of sharing, quick reminder to our listeners, make sure you're following us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. We love connecting with you there.
Absolutely. We're always sharing extra tips and behind-the-scenes stuff. But for now, let's get back to those presentation secrets. We've covered the opening, the stages, and the transitions. What else does this guide have in store for us?
Well, things are about to get really interesting. The guide dives into some advanced techniques next, like the power of storytelling, how to be visually persuasive, and the importance of knowing your audience. And we're going to unpack all of that in part 2 of our deep dive.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we get back to it, quick reminder to subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. We wouldn't want you to miss any future deep dives. So we've been getting into some really cool stuff with great presentation secrets, and there's still so much to uncover.
I know, right? This guide from London HeartbeatsZ Academy is packed with good stuff. We talked about starting strong, keeping things clear, and using those anchors like analogies and acronyms. But you mentioned some advanced techniques earlier. What were those? The ones that really take things to the next level?
Well, one that really stands out is the power of storytelling. The guide talks about how stories can connect with us emotionally and make things more relatable and memorable.
Oh, for sure. A good story can really pull you in, make you laugh, make you think. But how do we use that in a presentation without making it a bedtime story, I mean?
Right. Good point. The key is to be strategic about it. Don't just throw a random story in there. The guide suggests using stories to illustrate your points or to bring data to life. You could share a personal anecdote or a case study, even a fictional story that gets your message across.
I see. So instead of just saying, our product is the best, you tell a story about a customer who used it and saw amazing results.
Exactly. That makes it more believable and more interesting. People remember a good story way better than a bunch of facts and figures.
I'm loving this. Okay, what about visuals? Everyone says a picture's worth 1,000 words. But how do we use visuals to actually make our presentations better?
The guide gets into that too. It's all about visual persuasion. Our brains are wired to process visuals way faster than text, so strong visuals can really help us communicate our ideas.
So it's not just about throwing random images on a slide. We have to choose the right visuals for our message right.
Absolutely. Think about what you're trying to do. Explaining a complex process. Maybe a diagram would be good. Presenting data. A chart or graph can make those numbers pop. Don't forget about photographs, too. They can add a lot of emotion.
Okay, got it. It's about visuals that add to the message, not distract from it.
Exactly. And less is more. Don't overload your slides. Keep it clean and simple.
Okay, so we've got stories and visuals. Anything else we can do to make our presentations super persuasive and memorable?
Definitely. One of the most important things is to know your audience. The guide really hammers this point home.
Right, like you wouldn't give the same presentation to a group of executives and a group of college students.
Exactly. You got to do your research. Who are you presenting to? What are their interests? What are their pain points? The more you know about them, the better you can tailor your message to connect with them.
Like you're making a custom-tailored suit just for them.
Perfect analogy. It's about showing them you get them, you value their time, and you're speaking directly to them. That's how you build trust and credibility, and ultimately that's how you persuade people.
This is so eye-opening. Presentations are so much more than just standing up and talking. It's about creating a real connection with your audience.
You got it. And all of this amazing advice is coming straight from great presentation secrets, thanks to the awesome people at London HeartbeatsZ Academy UK.
Seriously, a huge thank you to London HeartbeatsZ Academy. They're doing great work helping people communicate better. And speaking of which, don't forget to subscribe to our channels on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube.
Yes, we love connecting with you all there. But for now, let's keep diving into those presentation secrets. We've covered storytelling, visual persuasion, and tailoring our message. What else does the guide have for us?
Well, next part of our deep dive, we're going to get into even more secrets. Things like handling Q&A sessions, dealing with nerves, and how to use your voice and body language to really command attention.
You won't want to miss it. It's all coming up in part 3 of the deep dive.
And we're back for part 3 of the deep dive. We're wrapping up our look at great presentation secrets, courtesy of London HeartbeatsZ Academy UK. And hey, don't forget to subscribe to our channels on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. So last time we were talking about storytelling visuals, really tailoring your message. But even with all that prep, there's one part of presentations that can still be a little scary.
The Q&A.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be a bit of a wild card.
Totally. Any tips on how to handle those tricky questions?
Well, the guide has a whole section on that, and the first thing it emphasizes is staying calm. It's normal to get a little nervous when you're put on the spot, but try to channel that nervous energy into positive energy.
I could see that. It's easy to get flustered when someone throws a curveball question at you.
For sure. But remember, the audience is usually just trying to learn more. They're not trying to trip you up. So the guide says take a breath, acknowledge the question, and give yourself a moment to think before answering.
So it's okay to pause for a second.
Definitely. It shows you're really considering the question. And it can be helpful to repeat the question back to them, just to make sure you understand it and to give yourself a little extra time to think.
Good point. Plus, it helps make sure everyone in the room heard the question.
Right. And what if you just don't know the answer? Don't panic, just be honest. The guide says it's totally okay to say you don't know and offer to follow up with the person later.
So no need to try and make something up on the spot.
Nope. It's much better to be honest and show that you're committed to giving accurate info. The other thing to remember is that the Q&A can actually be a really good opportunity to connect with the audience.
Oh, I like that. It's not just a test, it's a conversation.
Exactly. So use it to show a little personality, share your insights, even throw in a little humor if it feels right.
This is great advice.
Right.
Okay, but even if we've got all our ducks in a row, even if we know our stuff inside and out, sometimes nerves can still creep in. How do we deal with that?
The guide talks about that too. It says that feeling nervous is totally normal. It's a natural reaction to being outside your comfort zone. But it also says that those nerves can actually be a good thing.
Wait, really?
How?
Well, the guide suggests thinking of those nerves as excitement. You're excited to share your message, right? You're passionate about this stuff.
I guess so, yeah. But what about the physical stuff, like the shaky hands and racing heart?
The guide has some tips for that too. Deep breathing is always good. Or try visualizing yourself giving an awesome presentation. That can help boost your confidence.
Oh, okay, cool. So we've mastered our nerves and we know our material backwards and forwards. Now, how do we use our voice and our body language to really own the room?
Ah, the nonverbal stuff. Super important. The guide says stand tall, make eye contact with the audience. Use your hands naturally to emphasize your points.
So no hiding behind the podium.
Nope. You want to be present and engaged.
Hmm.
And your voice is important too.
Oh man, some monotone. I know I got to work on that. We all do. Vary your pitch, her pace, your volume. Use pauses strategically. All that stuff makes a huge difference.
This has been such an amazing deep dive. We've learned so much about how to make our presentations truly unforgettable.
And it all comes back to great presentation secrets by those amazing folks at London HeartbeatsZ Academy UK.
Yes. Huge thanks to London HeartbeatsZ Academy for this incredible resource. And hey, if you're enjoying the deep dive, make sure you're subscribed on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and YouTube. We're always sharing new deep dives, and we wouldn't want you to miss out. So until next time, keep learning and keep sharing your voice with the world.